You know him as the calm, cool Agent Gibbs from NCIS. But Mark Harmon just made a revelation that no one saw coming, and it's about none other than Ricky Nelson and the marriage that fans thought they understood. Why did Harmon, a notoriously private man, speak out now, and what truth has he kept quiet for decades? Question for you. Were you ever a fan of Ricky Nelson's music or TV shows? Comment 1 if yes, or if not quite, and let's uncover what Mark Harmon just shared. A legacy, born in lights. To millions, Ricky Nelson was the golden boy of American entertainment. From his role in The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet to hits like Hello, Mary Lou and Travelin' Man Ricky became a teen idol, a rock legend, and a household name. For those of us who have watched the decades unfold from the golden days of black and white television to the age of streaming, few names have aged as gracefully as Mark Harmon. To many, he is Leroy Jethro Gibbs, the stoic and commanding leader of NCIS, whose quiet authority filled our living rooms for nearly 2 decades. But behind the silver-haired serenity and piercing blue eyes lies a life story steeped in legacy, grounded in family, and defined by a work ethic that harkens back to a time when actions spoke louder than fame. Born Thomas Mark Harmon on September 2, 1951 in Burbank, California, Mark was no stranger to the spotlight. But unlike many of his Hollywood contemporaries, he came to fame not chasing it, but rather growing up with it, and then carefully choosing how to meet it on his own terms. His father, Tom Harmon, was a national hero long before Mark took his first acting class. A football legend who won the Heisman Trophy in 1940. Tom was the kind of man who inspired boys across America to dream big. After serving bravely in World War II, Tom transitioned into broadcasting and became a well-known sportscaster, bringing the same passion and poise to the microphone that he once brought to the gridiron. Mark's mother, Elise Knox, was a different kind of icon. A film actress of the 1940s and a fashion figure of elegance and poise, she carried herself with grace, something her son would emulate throughout his life. Together, Tom and Elise were the embodiment of 2 great American archetypes, the athlete and the artist. Mark inherited both legacies. In his early years, Mark didn't rush toward acting. In fact, it was the football field where he first made his mark. As the quarterback for UCLA's Bruins, he wasn't just a leader on the field, he was a young man who earned the respect of his peers for his humility, his intelligence, and his quiet strength. Those who watched him play could see it. He wasn't flashy, but he was dependable. He didn't stand, but he always showed up when it mattered. And it's that same unassuming reliability that would become the hallmark of his acting career. After graduating with a degree in communications, Harmon briefly considered other avenues, law perhaps, or advertising. These were the sensible paths, the steady ones. But there was something in him, a quiet pull toward the world his mother had known, one of storytelling, of stepping into another's shoes. He studied acting not for stardom, but to understand it as a craft. He wasn't chasing celebrities. He was chasing the truth. That's why he chose to break silence on Ricky Nelson's marriage after years. Mark Harmon breaks silence. Mark Harmon had a one-of-a-kind upbringing that was impacted by both the world of professional athletics and the glitz of Hollywood. He was born into a family that was already entrenched in celebrity and success, which had already established their reputation. It was his father, Tom Harmon, who was a renowned figure in the sport of American football. The Heisman Trophy was awarded to him in 1940 for his outstanding performance as a player for the University of Michigan. Subsequently, he went on to become a sports commentator, therefore ensuring his position in the annals of sports history. Mark Harmon's personal work ethic and ideals were likely affected by Tom Harmon's success and high visibility, which made him a role model and established a level of discipline, quality, and achievement from which Mark drew inspiration. Elise Knox. His mother was a well-known actress, fashion designer, and former model who rose to prominence during the golden era of Hollywood. She was noted not just for her presence on screen, but also for her elegance and grace off-screen. She acted in a number of films during the 1940s and was known for both of these qualities. Elise brought a sophisticated artistic sense to the family, and her career in the entertainment business provided Mark with a first-hand glimpse into the world that he would eventually make his own. Mark would go on to create his own company. Together, Tom and Elise were able to present their children with a singular combination of creative and athletic influence that had a significant impact on their lives. During his childhood, Mark was raised by two sisters, each of whom went on to achieve success in their own right. Kristen Harmon, his elder sister, was a painter and actress who found early popularity as the wife of teen hero Ricky Nelson. She eventually went on to make her own appearances on television. In addition to this, she was well known for her very personal artwork, which frequently reflected elements of family and emotion. Through Kristen's marriage to Ricky Nelson, the Harmon family was able to establish a direct connection to the Nelson family, which is another well-known entertainment dynasty. On April 27, 2018, Kristen died suddenly as a result of a heart attack, a tragedy that had a profound impact not only on her family but also on her faithful followers. As a single mother and an artist who navigated the obstacles of celebrity and personal strife, she was recognized not only for her talents but also for her warmth and resilience. Her legacy will be remembered not only for her extraordinary abilities. The other sister of Mark, Harmon Kelly Harmon, likewise followed a career in the fashion and entertainment industries. As a result of her work as a model and actress throughout the 1970s and 1980s, she became a well-known face in advertisements that were published in print and television. Kelly, who is well known for her beauty and grace, made a significant contribution to the public perception of the Harmon family as being multi-talented and fashionable. In his private life, Mark Harmon has been married to the actress Pam Dawber for a very long time. Dawber is most known for her part as Mindy McConnell in the iconic comedy Mork and Mindy, in which she co-starred with Robin Williams. The wedding took place on March 21, 1987, and it was a modest ceremony that mirrored the couple's inclination for a low-key and grounded way of life. In contrast to the majority of Hollywood couples, Mark and Pam have made a concerted effort to avoid the public eye. Instead, they have chosen to concentrate on the upbringing of their children, free from the constraints that come with celebrity. The public's admiration for their partnership, which has endured the test of time in a field that is sometimes characterized by brief romances, has only increased as a result of their dedication to maintaining their seclusion. Their two boys, Sean Thomas Harmon, who was born in 1988, and Ty Christian Harmon, who was born in 1992, are the product of their union. There were flashback moments on NCIS in which Sean played a younger version of his father's renowned character, Leroy Jethro Gibbs. Sean followed in his father's footsteps and even portrayed a younger version of his predecessor. Through his appearances, viewers were able to witness a fresh facet of the character, and they also provided a unique opportunity for a bond to be established between a father and son on TV. Ty, on the other hand, has mostly avoided the spotlight in order to pursue hobbies that are more behind the scenes. These interests include screenplay and producing. The Harmons have made a concerted effort to insulate their kids from the intense scrutiny that Hollywood is known for, opting instead to give them a stable and grounded atmosphere throughout their formative years. In addition, Mark Harmon is related to a number of other well-known people through his extended family relationship. In addition to being the brother-in-law of Ricky Nelson, he also became the brother-in-law of John DeLorean, an automotive businessman who was temporarily married to another of Kristen's sisters-in-law. This was made possible by the fact that his sister Kristen had married Ricky Nelson. Due to these ties, Harmon was able to become a part of a one-of-a-kind cultural network that encompassed not just the mediums of music and movies but also television and even the automobile sector. In addition to being the uncle of Gunnar and Matthew Nelson, who are twin brothers who had fame in the early 1990s with their rock band Nelson, he is also the uncle of Tracy Nelson, an actress who starred in roles on television and in films during the 1980s and 1990s. The brothers were a part of a musical history that could be passed down through many generations, beginning with their grandpa Ozzie Nelson, who was a big band leader. They had tunes that topped the charts. Mark Harmon, a well-known actor, has now spoken up about a subject that has piqued the interest of fans of vintage music and Hollywood for a considerable amount of time. This discussion comes after Harmon has for decades maintained his trademark secrecy and respect for privacy. This is the marriage of rock and roll star Ricky Nelson and actress Kristen Harmon, who was Mark's older sister. Their marriage was sometimes tumultuous and subject to intense scrutiny. Within the context of their marriage, Harmon reflected on the emotional intricacies, personal toll, and highly intimate familial issues that surrounded their relationship in an interview that was both rare and extremely honest. At one point in time, a partnership that was both a beautiful celebrity couple and a heartbreaking narrative of love that was stressed by fame addiction and growing emotional distance. Harmon, who is best known for his long-running role as Leroy Jethro Gibbs on NCIS, had made the decision to refrain from speaking publicly about the marriage with the intention of safeguarding the legacy of both Ricky and Kristen. This decision had been made for a number of years, a choice that was founded on devotion, sadness, and a profound conviction in the secrecy of topics pertaining to the family. Harmon now believes that it is the perfect moment to provide a more personal perspective, not to sensationalize but to commemorate both persons as complex human beings whose love story was as genuine as it was tragic. This is because the years have gone, and both Ricky and Kristen are no longer alive. Both of them have died. It was disclosed by Mark that Ricky and Kristen seemed to be the epitome of a celebrity pair from the outside since they were young, gorgeous, and full of potential. But Harmon was able to see behind the scenes of celebrity the toll that Ricky's demanding work in addition to Kristen's own internal struggles imposed on their marriage. Despite the fact that it was all about magazine covers and red carpets, Harmon revealed. Both of them were going through difficult times, yet they loved each other profoundly. He was dealing with the demands of maintaining his relevance in a music industry that is always evolving, and she was dealing with personal troubles that didn't make it into the headlines. Additionally, Harmon confessed that when he was a younger brother and he was witnessing his sister's marriage fall apart, he had an overpowering feeling of senselessness. He recounted phone conversations made late at night, emotional breakdowns, and the ongoing struggle between his public identity and his private agony. When asked about it, Harmon stated in a serious tone, "There were times when I didn't know what to do. You want to protect your sister, and you want to make things better. But there are times when all you can do is observe and listen to what she has to say." According to Harmon, the turning point in Ricky and Kristen's marriage occurred in the early 1980s, when it became hard to deny the fact that they were struggling with substance misuse, not having enough money, and experiencing emotional pressure. Divorce was the final outcome of the marriage in 1982, despite the fact that attempts at reconciliation therapy and family interventions were made. Harmon admitted that by the time they parted ways, a great deal of ground had already been lost. Not that I ever had any doubts about how much they loved their children. In addition, Mark took the opportunity to express his sympathy for Ricky Nelson's untimely passing in 1985, characterizing it as one of the most agonizing experiences of his life. "I respected and cared for Ricky since he was not only my brother-in-law but also a member of our family. He was someone I looked up to. His passing has left a void in each and every one of our hearts as well as in Kristen's." The recognition that Harmon made of his sister Kristen's downfall in later years, during which she struggled with addiction and other difficulties, was perhaps the most moving aspect of his assessment. The year 2018 was the year when she went away, a moment that Harmon continues to carry with him to this day. According to him, there were times when her heart was too huge for the world. She cherished Ricky, and she cherished her children. Unfortunately, she was unable to evade the shadows that were following her. Having now broken his silence, Mark Harmon has provided a rare and sympathetic peek into a marriage that has a long and illustrious history. An emotional state that is characterized by true attachment, creative enthusiasm, and eventually grief. A story that is frequently reduced to tabloid headlines is the subject of his remarks, which do not aim to change the past but rather to provide compassion, perspective, and humanity to the situation. By doing so, Harmon has paid tribute to the memories of both Ricky Nelson and Kristen Harmon. He has also shed light on the unbreakable relationships that exist within families, the challenges that sometimes go unnoticed behind the scenes, and the courage that is required to speak the truth, especially after such a long period of quiet. A journey through television. There are certain names in television history that feel like old friends, reliable presences who grow with us season after season, year after year. Mark Harmon is one of those names. For millions of viewers, his calm strength and quiet intensity have become synonymous with dependable storytelling and timeless character work. But before he became known to the world as Special Agent Leroy Jethro Gibbs on NCIS, Harmon's journey was one of steady growth, humble beginnings, and an unwavering commitment to the craft of acting. It was the 1970s, a golden age of American television. The air was filled with the comforting hum of weekly dramas and variety shows that brought families together around a single, glowing screen. That was when Mark Harmon first began appearing in small but memorable roles on beloved series such as Emergency Policewoman and The Love Boat. These early parts might seem modest in retrospect, but they were the stepping stones of a career defined not by flash but by patience and purpose. Harmon's breakout came in the 1980s in the critically acclaimed medical drama St. Elsewhere, as Dr. Bobby Caldwell Harmon brought to life a character both dashing and deeply complex. He wasn't just a heartthrob, though he was certainly that, as confirmed when People magazine named him Sexiest Man Alive in 1986. Beneath the charm, Harmon portrayed Caldwell as a man battling internal demons, navigating both the demands of his profession and the fragility of human connection. In a decade often associated with style over substance, Harmon stood out as an actor of depth and restraint. But for Harmon, being a star was never the goal. He once said in an interview that he never bought into fame. What he sought instead was honesty in performance. After St. Elsewhere, Harmon's career shifted to the big screen, where he headlined films like Summer School 1987, a light-hearted comedy that revealed his comedic chops, and The Presidio 1988, where he starred opposite Sean Connery in a crime thriller rooted in tension and tradition. In Stealing Home 1988, he portrayed a man returning to his hometown to confront grief and memory, a role that echoed the kind of quiet introspection Harmon seemed born to convey. While these films had varying degrees of box office success, it was on television where Harmon's true legacy would be cemented. Throughout the 1990s, he continued to appear in numerous TV movies and miniseries, refining his craft and proving again and again that he was one of the most versatile and reliable actors working in the medium. He could play the hero. He could play the villain. He could anchor a scene with a glance or unravel emotion with a single line. Then, in 2003, everything changed, not with a bang but with a steely whisper. That was the year NCIS debuted. And with it, the world was introduced to Special Agent Leroy Jethro Gibbs. At first glance, Gibbs was a man of few words. He wasn't charismatic in the usual sense. He didn't shout, didn't posture, didn't demand attention. But Harmon infused the character with an unspoken gravity, a stoic leadership shaped by pain, loyalty, and a past haunted by tragedy. His rules became legendary, his silences powerful. Over 18 seasons, Harmon didn't just play Gibbs, he became him. For many, he became the emotional heart of NCIS, a guiding compass in a show that blended procedural drama with deep human themes. What's remarkable is how deeply audiences connected with Gibbs. Viewers, especially those of older generations, saw in him a reflection of the values they held dear: integrity, sacrifice, and an unwavering sense of duty. He wasn't flashy, but he showed up. He wasn't loud, but his presence filled every scene. He was the kind of man who listened more than he spoke, who carried his losses with quiet dignity, and who, despite his burdens, remained steadfast. Behind the scenes, Harmon was much the same. Known for his professionalism, his loyalty to cast and crew, and his down-to-earth demeanor, he became a beloved figure on set. He mentored younger actors and protected the show's vision. Even as NCIS soared in popularity, becoming one of the most watched shows in the world, Harmon remained grounded, focused not on personal fame, but on telling a good story. In many ways, Harmon's career has mirrored the arc of a life well lived. His early roles were filled with energy and promise. His middle years brought him complex challenges and the test of longevity. And his later years gave him the chance to leave a legacy not just of entertainment, but of character. A legacy, both on and off the screen. By the time NCIS had become a staple of American television, Mark Harmon was more than just the face of a successful franchise, he was its soul. But Harmon's contributions didn't end when the director called cut. In fact, his role expanded far beyond the screen, revealing a man as devoted to the craft of storytelling as he was to embodying a character. In 2014, after more than a decade of portraying Special Agent Leroy Jethro, Gibbs Harmon made a significant step behind the camera. He founded Wings Productions, a move that marked a new chapter in his career, one defined by leadership vision and mentorship. For many actors, fame alone might have been enough. But Harmon had a deeper investment in the stories being told and the people telling them. Wings Productions was not just a vanity label, it was a calculated and heartfelt effort to grow the NCIS universe. The result was NCIS New Orleans, a spin-off that brought fresh life to the franchise while staying true to its core values: honor, integrity, loyalty, and teamwork. Set against the vivid backdrop of New Orleans, a city steeped in music, mystery, and history. The new series offered a different rhythm, a new voice, and yet a familiar heartbeat. With Harmon as executive producer, NCIS New Orleans launched in 2014, introducing fans to a new investigative team led by actor Scott Bakula. But the real story behind the show's success was Harmon's steady hand. Drawing from his own years of experience, he helped shape the tone, maintain the pacing, and preserve the emotional resonance that NCIS had always been known for. His guiding principle: respect the audience. He understood that viewers, especially those who had followed the original NCIS from the start, didn't just want action or suspense. They wanted substance. They wanted to feel something real. And Harmon, both as an actor and producer, never forgot that. His leadership ensured that NCIS New Orleans would honor the expectations of its loyal fan base while carving out its own space in the franchise. The show ran for 7 seasons, a testament not only to its strong cast and compelling stories, but to the foundation laid by Harmon's commitment behind the scenes. For fans who had grown up watching Harmon mature on screen, this move into production felt like a natural progression. It was as if the man they trusted to lead the fictional Gibbs team was now leading a creative team in real life, quietly, competently, and with the same moral clarity. To older audiences who had seen television evolve through the decades, Harmon's transition from leading man to producer evoked a deep sense of continuity. In a world that often moves too fast and forgets too easily, here was someone who stayed, who didn't just chase the next big thing, but took care to build something lasting. Harmon wasn't just making television. He was building a legacy. And it didn't stop with New Orleans. Harmon remained involved in other development projects, always seeking stories with heart, grit, and purpose. He valued character over spectacle, truth over trend. And he never lost sight of the people watching from home, many of them the same viewers who had been with him since the early days, from St. Elsewhere to NCIS. What makes Harmon's story especially moving for longtime fans is its rare blend of humility and impact. He was never the loudest person in the room, never the actor who chased headlines. But in his quiet consistency, he created something remarkable, a body of work that spans generations, resonates across ages, and feels deeply personal. There's a reason people of all backgrounds, especially older viewers, have such a strong connection to him. He represents a kind of integrity that's increasingly rare in the entertainment world. Watching Harmon over the years has felt like growing older with a trusted friend, someone who's been there through changes in the world, shifts in culture, and personal seasons of life. Today, as Harmon steps further into a role as television's elder statesman, his influence continues to ripple across the industry. Whether through his performances or his production work, he has helped shape what quality TV looks like. And in doing so, he has earned something greater than fame. He has earned trust. In the end, Mark Harmon's legacy isn't just about NCIS or about the characters he played. It's about the way he carried himself. With grace, with discipline, with an unwavering respect for his colleagues, his audience, and his craft. And perhaps that is why his work remains so deeply felt. Not because he sought to be great, but because he committed himself to being good on screen, off screen, and in every silent moment between. producing the Prey series, a timeless storyteller for the generations. For those who have watched television evolve from the black and white broadcasts of the 1950s to today's on-demand streaming era, there are certain names that endure not just for their fame, but for the quiet dignity and craftsmanship they brought to their work. One of those names is Mark Harmon. For decades, Mark Harmon has been a steady presence on our screens, a man who never chased headlines but always commanded respect. Whether portraying stoic leaders, earnest doctors, or conflicted heroes, Harmon brought something rare to his role's authenticity. And even as time passed, his talents deepened, extending far beyond the boundaries of acting. By 2018, Harmon had added yet another dimension to his already rich career. He was reported to be working as a producer for a new CBS series based on John Sandford's acclaimed Prey novels thrillers that had enthralled readers for decades. These weren't ordinary detective stories. They were psychological, morally complex, and rich in suspense. At the center stood Lucas Davenport, a dogged investigator whose intelligence and inner turmoil set him apart from cookie-cutter crime fighters. For fans of the books and for viewers familiar with Harmon's quietly intense performances, this news sparked real excitement. Who better than Harmon to guide a story rooted in character conscience and confrontation? With more than 30 million copies of the Prey novels sold worldwide and the last 10 consistently reaching #1 on the New York Times bestseller list, the series was more than ripe for adaptation. Harmon's involvement promised not only fidelity to the material, but a thoughtful, layered translation to the screen. Of course, Harmon's talent for guiding stories from behind the camera didn't begin with Prey. Long before he took on high-profile producer roles, he had been quietly building his credentials as a director, honing a set of skills that many casual viewers may never have realized he possessed. In the late 1990s, Harmon directed episodes of Chicago Hope, a CBS medical drama known for its intellectual rigor and emotional depth. For those who remember that era of network television, Chicago Hope wasn't just another hospital show. It was nuanced, humane, and often daring in its themes. Harmon's episodes added weight and character-driven intensity, giving audiences not just drama, but reflection. He continued directing in 2002, this time contributing 2 episodes to Boston Public, a gritty, emotionally charged series set in a Boston public high school. The show tackled issues that are still relevant today, schools' discrimination, broken systems, and Harmon's directorial efforts helped humanize those challenges with compassion and clarity. These early forays into directing revealed something essential about Harmon. He was always a storyteller, not just an actor hitting his marks. He understood rhythm, tone, and emotion from the inside out. And as time went on, he leaned into this role more deeply, transitioning naturally from performer to producer, mentor, and author. In 2023, Harmon again surprised his audience, but this time through the written word. Teaming up with Leon Carroll Jr., a retired NCIS special agent and longtime technical advisor for the show, he co-authored Ghosts of Honolulu, a Japanese spy, a Japanese-American spy hunter, and the untold story of Pearl Harbor. The book is a carefully researched, true-life narrative that explores espionage and counterintelligence in the tense months surrounding America's entry into World War II. It's not hard to see why the subject would appeal to Harmon. Ghosts of Honolulu is about duty, secrecy, sacrifice, and the deeply human stories that so often go unrecognized beneath the surface of history. These themes echo the very ones Harmon embodied as Leroy Jethro Gibbs in NCIS, a man bound by justice, shaken by personal loss, and unwavering in principle. What made this project especially powerful was Harmon's personal investment. Not only did he co-wrote the book, he also narrated the audiobook version, bringing his familiar steady voice to the historical record. It was a gesture that older listeners, many of whom had grown up watching him, found especially poignant. The same calm tone that once guided fictional agents through crises now carried the weight of real history, honoring the lives and struggles of Americans in a time of great uncertainty. For longtime fans, this project was more than a book. It was a culmination, a moment where fiction and reality met, and Harmon once again was the trustworthy guide through complex moral terrain. Now, in his 70s, Harmon continues to remain active, not as a celebrity chasing the spotlight, but as a thoughtful creator forever dedicated to telling meaningful stories. Whether it's a tense moment in a crime drama, a quiet directorial decision behind the scenes, or the measured narration of a wartime memoir, he brings the same integrity to every task. In an age when entertainment can feel fleeting and shallow, Mark Harmon reminds us that depth matters. That being dependable matters. That dignity, even in silence, can still be the most powerful form of leadership. And for older audiences who have walked with him across the decades from his early TV appearances in the 70s to St. Elsewhere Summer School NCIS and beyond, Mark Harmon has become more than a performer. He's a companion, a constant in a changing world. His story isn't just one of success but of substance, a rare quality in any era. And in today's media landscape that makes him not just relevant, but essential. His words bring new light to a story that for years only lived in rumors and court records. Now, we want to hear from you. What's your favorite Ricky Nelson song or moment from his career? Share your memory in the comments. If you appreciated this rare, vulnerable story, give this video a like. And don't forget to subscribe to the Maddie channel, where we bring you the untold truths and emotional moments behind Hollywood's biggest legends. Thank you for watching.